I mean, I started this channel just as a way to help other people understand me a bit better. Maybe I'm going to be accused of being a narcissist again. I've not been accused of that for a while. The cause of the most joy and validation that I've found, but also the reasons for my biggest fears and my biggest anxieties as well. Goodness gracious, I'm going to chop those things off. Spring is still here in Warsaw. Although I heard it's going to snow over the weekend, but for today, I'd have a lovely, beautiful day. And so I thought today in this video, what I would do is go back to a topic that I talked about in one of my very, very first videos. And it's had basically no views. So I thought, hey, I have no shame in revisiting this topic and this idea. So let's have a look, have a think about my reflections on coming out and how that has impacted on my life. So I've talked a bit about my past history and why it took me a while to start the coming out process in previous videos. And just to kind of summarize it, basically I was terrified. I was terrified of how it would be received. I was terrified of having to justify who I am to sometimes complete strangers, and I found that idea very difficult because I could barely explain it to myself or justify it to myself. Back in the day, it was very hard for me to conceptualize why or how I knew I'm transgender in the first instance. So how could I possibly explain this to even people that love me the most? It seemed like an impossible thing for me to do. And I was deeply aware, or somewhat aware, of the hoops that trans people needed to jump through in order to get treatment or care or support from the establishment. I mean, for example, some of the processes in which we needed to engage the medical establishment felt that you would need to go in front of a stranger or two or three in order to justify that you were trans enough to warrant access to medical treatment. And that just felt impossible. And how would and how does that feel for trans folk to be told, oh, you're not quite trans enough according to my specific checklist, come back again when you've said the right combination of words in the right kind of way and I can actually take you at your word. It feels very inhumane. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily oblige depressed people or other people seeking treatment and care in the same manner. So it felt like I would just have to face this and deal with this by myself. And the whole coming out process, it requires so much trust in the people that you're having that conversation with, regardless of who it is. You know, it could be one person, it could be many people. I mean, I'm obviously putting my story out there into the world, and in a sense, goodness gracious, I've got to chop those things off. And in a sense, I'm trusting my audience to take my words at face value and to believe what I say. But as I know from my comments section, I will still continue to be told that I'm not trans or that I'm deluded or anything like that. And it's interesting, to say the least. I mean, I have to say I'm much more, the doggy being naughty chasing ducks over there, I'm much more self-confident in myself, I suppose, especially when it comes to knowing who I am, that those sorts of comments just slide off my back. But this is the reality for so many trans people. They have to face skepticism and pushback at every point of contact with so many people. And I have to say, I was aware of this as a younger person, and it stopped me from doing anything. And that was disappointing, I suppose, because I could have done stuff so much sooner, at least been out to more people at a younger age. And I don't know what that would have changed in real terms. Would I have started transitioning sooner? I don't know. And in a way, that doesn't really matter. It's It's that fear that freezes one. But then I did start coming out to people, and I've talked about why that was elsewhere. And those first conversations with close friends and my mother, it was just so, I still can't put it into words how amazing it felt, that there was this weight on my shoulders that had always been there. And just saying out loud the words, I'm transgender, that weight was lifted each time. And everything felt lighter, and everything felt rosier and more hopeful. And the same thing can be said for when I gently and subtly came out at work as well. It's been remarkable at the sort of support and love that I've been shown across the board. I was expecting not a lot, but even still to this day, something like 200 days after I changed my pronouns in my signature, I'm still getting messages of support. I'm still getting people congratulating me on taking these steps. So it really is remarkable, and I never really expected that, to be honest. And I suppose I am incredibly grateful for everyone who's shown me this understanding and this care and this support. I mean, I've spoken about Carolina in the past. The same can be said for a lot of my close friends as well, the ones that I came out to initially. But I mean, also, I sometimes overlook the fact that I did this. And, you know, I've been accused of being brave by several people, and I've always pushed back against that because I don't feel brave. I mean, look, I'm happily out on the streets, walking around in actually the same outfit I was wearing on Sunday. And I'm not facing any problems. It's not illegal in Poland to be transgender. I've had very few glares even, like when I'm out and about. I just seem to just breeze through the world, and that's kind of what I wanted. I don't want to stand out or make a song and dance about this, although I am making a YouTube channel to talk about it, which I suppose does suggest that I want to be somewhat known for this. But I mean, I started this channel just as a way to help other people understand me a bit better, people within my immediate circle, and that has grown. And actually, I just want to touch on some of the people that have reached out to me directly. I've met some remarkable people through those correspondences, people who are supportive, people who are less than supportive, and I welcome all of these comments because it suggests a willingness, if you're critical, it suggests a willingness to engage in an actual dialogue, which you don't really get in the comment section. The comment section is quite bleak sometimes in that sense. So having a more longer form conversation via email, it's still not perfect, but it's better. And then there are people that I met in my email section, and oh God, your stories are so remarkable, and I have nothing but admiration and respect for you. And it's in those correspondences, in looking at other people's journeys and seeing the bravery that they've shown, maybe then I can see my own. You know, I am literally broadcasting myself into the homes, the devices of absolute complete strangers anywhere in the world. I don't know who you are. I don't know what your attitudes are to people like me. And I'm willingly speaking to you directly. And that takes a bit of courage, you know, because it can be quite troublesome, some of the things I get. So I think sometimes I do need to take stock of myself and congratulate myself a little bit. I mean, maybe I'm going to be accused of being a narcissist again. I've not been accused of that for a while, so it's either so, you know, there's some ammunition for you for you. Andy is a narcissist, believers. So what? Kind of this is a bit of a rambly video, I'm aware of that, but I just wanted to talk a little bit at length about, I guess, people. That's my mission statement for this particular video. It's the people that have been the cause of the most joy and validation that I've found, the reason for my happiness, the reason for my courage, the reason for my positive outlook. But people are also the reasons for my biggest fears and my biggest anxieties as well. So people be people. And I have to say, like, even for those of you, especially for those of you who are critical, you know, I do understand where you're coming from. I get it, I do. We're unusual, we're strange. It's hard for you to get a bead on exactly who we are. And if your starting point is you don't trust us, you're never going to believe what we have to say about our experiences. If your starting point is that you are wary of us, if you think that we're up to something, we could point to all of the evidence in the world, and that's never going to be good enough for you. Because ultimately, your response to me as a transgender woman is couched in so many layers of subtexts and emotions. It's impossible for me to break through those, and I don't know, I don't think I'll ever do that. I don't think I'm ever going to give anybody those kind of light bulb moments. But I don't know, I'll continue nonetheless. I'm not gonna, sometimes I wonder if it's worthwhile making these videos, but I enjoy it. I enjoy this process. I enjoy walking around in the summer and talking to you personally. There's so many people on my channel that I have so many interesting and fulfilling conversations with. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, I don't know, I'm going to leave it there because I'm going to start wittering on a little bit too much, and I'm mindful of the length of this video. But thank you so much for your ongoing support and viewership and everything else, your positive comments, your critical comments. It's all good, it's all fun, you know. So have a wonderful week, a great weekend, and I'll see you very soon. So onto some life updates, and I suppose first thing you probably noticed is I'm not in my so-called studio to do the life updates today. I'm on the street. That's because my mother is in town this weekend. So while that's quite exciting, and I'll explain why that is in a moment, it does mean that I'm not going to have time for my usual workflow over the weekend when I do my life updates on the Sunday and the editing and stuff. So I've had to jam it all into a couple of days, but this is the first time my mother will see me as me, which I'm looking forward to a certain extent. I'm fairly confident that it will be fine. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be, but I'll give you all an update next time to let you know how that goes. I mean, I've been out to her for several years, but I've always kept things fairly low-key, let's say. And so she's never really seen me as nature intended. We'll see. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I guess I'll be hanging out with my mother. What else? Work is still work, still no resolution there. It's a grinding source of misery and drudgery, I suppose I'd call it. I've got a couple of interesting projects on the go though that's keeping me occupied, and I'll give you a little bit of more information about something that I'm involved in soon. I don't want to kind of spill the beans just yet because there's still a few dots and crosses to do in terms of agreements and contracts. There's people on cycles just coming directly towards me. This is sometimes quite a treacherous stretch of pavement as these cyclists bombard down here. Yeah, I'll let you know what that's all about in a couple of weeks when that's closer to delivery. Comment of the week. So I have to be honest, and I'm taking complete responsibility for this. I should have known better. Like, the comments in my last video, I have to say I'm kind of disappointed with. It feels like while there were some positive comments, it felt like it gave people an opportunity to come out and dunk on trans people a little bit. And that's kind of interesting for me because it's the first time I've had a video like that where people have kind of come out of the woodwork just to talk about how happily transphobic they are for quite some time. And I mean, I suppose it's my fault for opening Pandora's box, and maybe my video wasn't particularly clear. I don't know. I do feel sometimes that there's this kind of balance that I want to strike where I'm covering topics that I think are of interest to people and of value to a lot of trans people, because I know that that's going to get me views. Basically, I am starting to chase that clout a little bit, which I guess that's kind of natural. Everybody does that to a certain extent. It's not that I want to create clickbaity headlines and stuff, but that does mean that I'll open myself up to certain audiences. So yeah, it's a difficult one for me, I suppose, because I'm still, feeling things out on this channel. I'm still figuring out how to manage this channel basically as much as I can. So yeah, I wasn't entirely happy with last week's video, not necessarily because of the comments, but because of the way that I allowed those comments to appear. So that's why this week I reverted to something a little bit more personal, a little bit more upbeat, I think. And also, I don't know, I just think I needed to reiterate that message to myself, the message that I had today in this video. Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to dodge certain topics because they're controversial. I think that we can't shy away from them. I mean, my video on religion, for example, certainly falls under that category, but I don't know. It's weird that sometimes my comment section just seems to get mauled a little bit. But I don't know. I often come away and start reflecting about the extent to which I've brought this upon myself, and maybe my arguments haven't been good enough, let's say. So that's not to say that I'm sort of beating myself up, but at the same time, maybe I could have been better last time round. So yeah, it's an interesting process, this filmmaking lark. Anyway, so I'm going to wrap it up there. So thank you very much for watching until the end. If you want to support me, I really very much appreciate it. I'll put the link to how you can buy me a coffee here. For any of you who support me, even a tiny amount, I've got a video on anger, which I haven't released publicly because, as I said last time, I think it's fine. I think it's sound, but at the same time, it doesn't fit, I think, the philosophy that I'm trying to go for on this channel. So if you're curious to see how that is, it's somewhat unfinished because it's a kind of a director's cut. But yeah, if you want to check it out, then you know what to do. Otherwise, have yourselves a wonderful week, and I will see you this time next week. Take care.